It's still unclear what the Raiders' plan is for their quarterback situation. Are they planning to draft one, or will they go with a veteran quarterback? The Raiders currently hold the sixth overall pick, and it's expected that the top one or two quarterbacks will likely be off the board by then. Thanks to Antonio Pierce, I'm reminded of his statement where he said, "I only care about winning games. How winning or losing affects draft picks doesn't concern me." At that time, the Raiders were holding the first overall pick, but after winning their last two games, they dropped to the sixth pick. Now, looking at the current scenario, it makes more sense to trade for a proven quarterback rather than gamble on an unproven one in the draft. Recently, reports have mentioned another quarterback whose information the Raiders are gathering, and there's a possibility they might attempt to trade for him. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel. Earlier this week, a major report surfaced linking the Las Vegas Raiders to Matthew Stafford. Apparently, there's a real possibility that this deal could happen. When you look at where the Raiders stand as a team, their coaching staff, and overall franchise position, it's not hard to see why they might consider making a move at quarterback. This could potentially put them in contention. Of course, there are a few things they'd need to fix first. If you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a few years back, they were in a similar situation. They made key adjustments, went all in, and ended up winning. John Spytek saw that firsthand. So could the Raiders take the same approach with a quarterback like Stafford? But signing a veteran guy could backfire in their face. I mean, let's be honest. That's basically what they did the last 2 years with Jimmy Garoppolo and Gardner Minshew, and we all know how that went. I'm usually against the go for a veteran avenue when it comes to the Raiders, just because it hasn't really worked out at all. But this is different. This is Matthew Stafford, one of the most talented passers of all time. If the price is right, you absolutely go get him, and then you still draft a young guy to sit behind him for a year or two, and you now have a Jordan Love situation like what the Green Bay Packers did. At 37 years old, Matthew Stafford is entering the final 2 years of the 4-year, $160 million contract he signed with the Rams in 2022 after leading them to a Super Bowl victory. However, the structure of his current deal has created some tension with the Rams front office. In 2024, his contract was adjusted to guarantee him $23.5 million in salary, along with a $12.5 million signing bonus and a $4 million roster bonus. Essentially, it became a 1-year, $40 million arrangement. For 2025 and 2026, he has just $4 million in guarantees remaining, which is the key issue between Stafford and the Rams. This lack of security has led Stafford and his agent to explore a new deal. The Rams have given his camp permission to talk to other teams and assess his market value. Reports suggest that Stafford is seeking a new contract worth more than $50 million annually. This number has been widely discussed following comments from NFL insider Peter Schrager, who noted Stafford's desire for a significant pay raise. The Rams are reportedly open to either extending Stafford or trading him, depending on how negotiations unfold. If they opt for a trade, they are expected to demand a significant return, possibly a first-round pick. This is where things get interesting. Stafford is still a capable quarterback, and for the Raiders, he might be the best available veteran option. But here's the catch. If the Raiders trade for Stafford, they're not just taking on his contract as it is. They'd have to give him a new deal. But if the Rams truly expect a first-round pick in return, this is where caution is needed. Overpaying for an aging quarterback, especially in terms of draft capital, could be a costly mistake. If the Raiders were to take on Stafford's deal, they'd essentially be doing the Rams a favor by freeing up cap space and allowing them to move on at quarterback. The Rams would be the real winners if they managed to offload Stafford's contract while also securing a first-round pick in return. The Raiders, on the other hand, hold a valuable top 6 draft pick. Paying Stafford over $50 million per year, on top of whatever guaranteed money he demands, would be a significant commitment. The $50 million per season mark may seem steep, but it aligns with the current quarterback market. The NFL salary cap just increased, and quarterback salaries have skyrocketed. Dak Prescott is set to make $60 million, while Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, and others are in the $55 million range. Even Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, and Justin Herbert are making over $50 million annually. So from a market standpoint, Stafford's asking price isn't outrageous. If Stafford is viewed as a short-term option for the Raiders, paying him $50 to $55 million per season for 2 years could make sense. He remains one of the best available veteran quarterbacks and could help the team stay competitive immediately. But the Raiders must be cautious. Their roster still has key needs, particularly on the offensive line. Stafford is an aging pocket passer, and if the Raiders don't significantly upgrade their protection, it could become a major issue. If the Raiders trade for him, they should offer something like a 2-year, $100 million fully guaranteed contract. That structure would allow them to keep his cap hit manageable in year 1 while backloading more into year 2. The salary cap keeps rising, so this wouldn't be a terrible move financially. We have discussed earlier that the Raiders would either sign or trade for a quarterback early this offseason, and that still stands. Compared to other options, Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, and Kirk Cousins. Stafford is the best of the bunch. If the Raiders are serious about being aggressive, this shouldn't come as a surprise. So, what would it take to land Stafford? Initially, the Rams were reportedly looking for a first-round pick, but that price has dropped. Now, a second-round pick seems to be the asking price, but just handing over a second-rounder isn't ideal. So, here's what would be feasible. The Raiders send a second and a fifth-round pick to the Rams in exchange for Stafford and a fourth-round pick. If a third-round pick alone could get the deal done, that would be even better. So there's a real chance they're considering going all in with Stafford, aiming to compete for a Super Bowl over the next 2 to 4 years. They know exactly what Stafford brings to the table and believe he could lead them to success. When evaluating quarterbacks, teams often look for long-term potential. However, in some years, franchises decide against drafting a quarterback, even if one ranks highly. We've seen situations where a team passes on a quarterback in favor of other positions. If a team can't get one of the top 2 quarterbacks in a draft class, they might opt to strengthen other areas and revisit the quarterback position the following year. This year's quarterback class isn't highly regarded. Reports keep shifting on who the top prospect is, which suggests uncertainty. While some view Cam Ward as the best in this class and a likely first-round pick, opinions on other quarterbacks vary significantly. Some believe prospects like Jackson Dart and Sheeter Sanders could go in the top 10, while others think they aren't worth selecting in the first 2 rounds. Unless the Raiders land Ward, selecting a quarterback early may not be the right move. Instead, going after a veteran like Stafford could make more sense. Currently, Las Vegas has $99.5 million in cap space, according to Over the Cap. That number includes 54 players, some of whom are practice squad members or likely cuts. They also have 27 pending free agents, including 11 starters, who they'll need to either re-sign or replace. The Raiders have key players locked in, including Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins, and they have the flexibility to structure contracts strategically. They could release certain players, save money, and add the right free agents to push them into serious contention. If they pursue Stafford, they'll need to structure the deal wisely. Perhaps something like a 3-year contract where his cap hit is lower in the first 2 years and escalates later. Adding void years to spread out the cap hit could also be an option. It's worth noting that head coach Pete Carroll is likely not in this for the long haul. He's expected to coach for 3 or 4 years, not a decade. The Raiders are building a team to compete now, not in 5 years. Drafting a quarterback at pick number 6 may not align with that vision, especially when they need help at wide receiver, running back, and guard. The Raiders have plenty of options if they keep their high draft picks. They could add a top wide receiver like Travis Hunter, Tataroa McMillan, or Luke Burton. That would give them another weapon alongside Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, and Trey Tucker. Strengthening the offensive line and adding a running back would also be key moves to maximize their competitiveness. Another possibility for the Raiders is trading a quarterback in return. Sean McVay will need someone to replace Stafford. Las Vegas could package Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew in a deal, as McVay has a track record of elevating quarterbacks. As of now, Stafford hasn't formally requested a trade, and many analysts believe the Rams may be open to trading him for a third-round pick. While Los Angeles will push for a first-rounder, there's a belief around the league that this relationship is heading for a split. If the Raiders do land Stafford, they could still draft a young quarterback, let Stafford mentor him and O'Connell, and build a solid quarterback room. They also have plenty of cap space to work with, which gives them leverage in negotiations. Looking at the bigger picture, the Raiders need to approach this strategically. Their defensive line is already strong, resembling what the Eagles had during their Super Bowl run. While Philadelphia had Jalen Carter as their key defensive tackle, the Raiders have Crosby and Wilkins, who are equally impactful. Depth is crucial, and the Raiders could add a defensive end with a second-round pick to bolster the pass rush further. Building a Super Bowl contender requires smart drafting and financial decisions. If the Raiders secure Stafford, they can use their top draft picks to reinforce other areas. Taking a defensive end, center, or cornerback in the second round would provide long-term benefits. The key is making sure every move aligns with their goal of winning within the next 3 years. What do you think? Should the Raiders go after Stafford? And if so, what's the maximum they should offer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.